Okay, and if you're not in a notebook, you should write the date. You should get in the habit for that for college too, or you're going to have a bunch of notes in college and not know where to find anything. Okay, so graphing inequalities. I need to be on graph paper. So let me change to graph paper. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so you can see the graph paper better. Okay, so let me show you one. And then we'll see what you guys remember. Okay, y, let's say 2x plus 3y is less than 6. What do you guys remember about these? That's algebra 1, you guys. It's ancient. You didn't do any of these in geometry. Anyone remember what it has to do with? Find that file folder in our brains where we practiced all of these. How about those? What's the difference between those? Just in general. Hey, that's good. I was going to say open and closed, but you're correct. So open and closed, but actually that's with regular number lines, right? But he's right. So dotted is this one. I call it dashed. And what's this one? What's the opposite of dotted? Remember, you have like dotted lines? And then what about the one with the equal to under it? Maybe we call that a solid line. Yeah. Remember that? Okay. Okay. So let's first, so step 1, we'll call this step 1. Step 1 is you write it with an equal sign. Change the problem to an equal sign. Now, the reason you're doing that is so you know the shape. Exactly. You got shading. You're going to shade part of it. Okay, so you're going to change it to an equal sign. Now, the reason you're going to change it to an equal sign is if you are doing questions later in our book, it might look like this instead. And you need your brain to say, oh, that's a parabola. And your brain with the inequality, it's kind of like the fraction. It's not going to say to you parabola. It's going to say, I don't know how to do that one. Okay, so you're going to change it to an equal sign. And then you're going to graph it as whatever shape that is. So this is a line. And how'd you graph lines yesterday? So how'd you do this as a line? I'm going to put a box around Y. How'd you guys do this? Slope. How do I turn it into something I can find the slope for? So I'm writing this step 1, change to an equal sign and graph. Okay, I agree. So y equals mx plus b because that's a line. And in algebra 2, you're going to have a lot more shapes than just lines. So we're going to have to do it with different shapes too. But at the beginning, let's do it with a line. Okay, so this is called the boundary line. Okay, so let me just call it that. It's called the boundary line, but you won't have to write that in your homework. Okay, so the boundary line is going to tell you, divide your graphs into 2 sections or 3 sections or 5 sections, because later in our class, your boundary line might be a boundary circle. And then you might shade inside it or outside it. So maybe you'll be shading inside the circle. Maybe you'll be shading outside the circle. Okay, so what I want to give you is a method that works for lines, that works for all our shapes in our book. Okay, so that's why we're going to use this method. Okay, so what do we do next? What do we do next? How'd you graph that yesterday? Okay, start with 0, 2, the y-intercept. And you want to make sure to write it as a coordinate in my class. We'll put this positive 3 at the bottom. Sounds good. Down to right 3. Okay, and then don't draw your line. So do your 2, down to right 3, down to right 3. But don't draw it in yet, because we're going to do step 2. I'm going to write step 2 in red just because I'm going to write it in a different position. Step 2 is right here. Step 2 is dashed or solid. Oops, I'm spelling dash wrong. Okay, so step 2 is dashed or solid, but usually I write it up here. So is that one a dashed one? Yeah, I call it dashed, but dashed, dotted, same thing. I just noticed one time they were dashed. They're little dashes instead of little dots, so I started calling them dashed. Okay, so this one's a dashed one. And say you wrote dashed, but then you accidentally made it solid, I would give you partial credit on your quiz or your test. So writing it right near there is good, helpful. And I usually do that first as soon as I see it. You know, this is where the Algebra 1 and the Algebra 2 method change. You can't do less than means below and greater than means above. Okay, so this is the Algebra 2 step 3. Okay, so Algebra 2, step 3 is different than what you would have in Algebra 1. Okay, because I need it to work for circles. I need it to work for hyperbolas. I need it to work for V-graphs. I need it to work for every shape I have. Okay, and the line method, I'd rather learn the method that works for everything and not to have 2 separate methods. So step 3 is called test point. Okay, and some of your teachers who teach Algebra 2 probably taught you the test point method. Okay, so what you do is you test a point on one side of the line. So this is your choice. Now, I usually don't pick 0, 0. I used to pick 0, 0, but I find if I pick other numbers, it's usually easier for students. So you have to pick a point. I'm going to pick this point. I like to pick a point with the same X and Y value if possible. So you just pick a point. I usually pick 1, 1, but you see right here, 1, 1. I'm not sure what side of the line that's on. I mean, I think it's on the underside. Not 100% sure. So I'm going to pick 3, 3. Usually, people pick 1, 1 or 0, 0. That looks funny. Hold on. That's because it's at the bottom of my tablet. So usually people put this. I find with negatives, people say true or false wrong on the 0, 0. So that's why I stopped using 0. Okay, now what you do is you substitute this into the original. So substitute or plug in into the original. So you get 2. I'm going to write this in color so you can see it better. So I'm going to substitute my 3, 3 into the original. And I want to see if it's true or false. The thing with the zeros is it's harder to tell whether it's true or false. I came up with something last year during Bridge Summer School that if you look at the less than sign, if you write the word less in it, see how diagonally it's a less? That might help you remind you that it's a less. Some people get their inequality signs backwards. So the one that's an L, if you tip your head a little sideways, is the less. So is 15 less than 6? No. So you put no, or you could put false. I usually just put no. So if I put no on my test point, so look on my graph. So you don't have to highlight this, but I just want to point it out to you so you guys can see it. Do you see where I put no? So that means don't shade that side. Okay, so let me tell you what a no means. A no means don't shade that point. A yes means shade that point and the whole side. So I'm not going to shade that side. I'm going to shade the other side. So usually when you shade, you just kind of color it in like this, all the way to the end of your graph, like wherever you see your graph. So that's saying any point in the shaded region is going to be true. And any point on the line is actually false because that's a dashed line. That means nothing on the line works. And then nothing at the top half works. How many of you think you use test point? So tell me if you think you use the test point method. You use the like less than is below and greater than is above, right? Okay. It's funny because some of you had me for algebra 1 and I know you use my method, but that's okay. It's been 2 years, you guys, you forgot. It doesn't matter. So some people think they have and some people think they haven't. Okay. And so, I mean, some of you really haven't. But if you did have me, I did do the test point method. Okay. Now you can see where, what if you had the circle? Like greater than and less than? Which way would that mean? You know, or what if there's 3 sections? Look at this one. This one right here on the right, there's 3 sections. There's like a right side, a left side, and then there's a middle. So you have to do it the test point method. Francisco, that does sometimes work for circles. Yeah, sometimes it works, but not always. Okay. Okay. Okay, so okay, example 2. Ready? Funny. You guys are funny. Example 2. I'm glad we're doing these live classes. I'd much rather teach to you guys than my puppies. Okay. Okay. I'm looking at another example. We'll see what we could do. Okay, how about this one? What's wrong with this one? There's something wrong. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so step 1, change to an equals. How do I graph the ones on an XY graph when you only have one letter? Yeah. It's either a flat horizontal line or a flat vertical line. Okay, so there's two methods I'm going to show you. One is I call it an always table. Okay, this is one method. There's two methods. So you can make a little table. Why I call it an always table is it says x equals 2. That means x is always 2. Francisco, actually, this one's vertical. It's very confusing if you haven't graphed it in a few years. That's why there's two methods, and I'll show you both methods. Okay, so this one, in calculus, it's actually the most common error. And these you pick. Now, if it said y equals 2, I would put the 2's in the y column. No, Francisco, actually, the fact that you even knew it was a flat line is incredible. When I teach calculus, only half the people even get the graph line correct. So, but I'm going to show you a method that's going to help you so that you'll remember. Because the table method's okay, but there's another method I have. Now, step 2 is dashed or solid. So I'm going to go up here, circle that, step 2. And is that dashed or solid? Yeah. And you guys, the only way we learn is by making errors. So it's better to make errors anyway. Okay, solid. So we're going to make a solid line. And then you're going to do your test point. Okay, and then wherever you write it, it's kind of like last step. Just write test point somewhere. I don't need you to label things step 1 and step 2, but I do need you to tell me which point you picked. So let's pick 1, 1. Can you tell which side of the line 1, 1's on? Right, I see 1, 1. It's definitely over there, right? Yeah, I could tell. So I'm gonna use 1, 1. Okay, 1, 1. So you go back to the original. 1 plus 3 is less than or equal to 5. 4 is less than or equal to 5. Is that true or false? Or yes or no? That's a yes. Okay, so that's a yes. So this 1, 1 is a yes. So which side should I shade? The left or the right? Yeah, so that's a true or a yes, whichever way you want to call it is fine. Yeah, so then I'm going to shade to the left. And the test point works in whatever math shape you have the whole year. That's it. Okay, let me show you how I remember the graphs. Okay, so put x equals 2 versus y equals 2. Okay, so let me show you it's a shortcut, but only if you remember it. Okay, so a shortcut, and we'll put instead of always method. We'll call it an always table. So an always tables works if you forget. And it's just 3 coordinates. Okay. So the shortcut is this. I don't think it's so difficult for me to do on the tablet. Usually I do it in class. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to show you guys a picture. Let me change my auto rotate. Okay. So you guys, I'm going to stop presenting for just a second, and then you're going to see it in the screen with my photo. So let me stop presenting. Okay. So you guys can see my face, right? My face. Okay. So let me show you. Let me go back here. Okay. Let me see that. Okay. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, ready? If I flip it over, hold on. Hold on, I gotta get my thing back. I hit a button. Okay, so if I flip it over, look at my y. What letter does the y look like upside down? Can you guys find my y? Okay, my y upside down looks like an H, right? Okay. So let me go back to my presenting on my tablet. That's perfect. Okay, that's kind of cool. Distance learning invention. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So this right here, upside down. I don't know if you ever spelled the word upside down before, but that's actually how you spell it. Okay, upside down is an H. And what's the H stand for? What math word is H? Yep. So that's another way for you to remember that the y equals are the line. The problem where people try to memorize these is it's the other way from the axis name. So the axes names screw us up. So instead of remembering it, that you could remember the y upside down thing. Okay, and then I have a way for the x too. Okay, so over here, the letter X is a V with another V. Actually, it has 3 V's. You know those problems that say, like, how many squares do you see? How many squares do you see? And you're like, I see 9. Right? You see 9? And then somebody else says, no, 10. Where's their 10? Oh, wait, look, they see another square. Are there only 10 squares? This is totally relevant. I know you think it's irrelevant, but it's actually relevant. Do you see any more squares or only 10? Is there any other square? Anybody see another square? In my green squares, red squares thing? How about this one? Isn't that a square? That's a square, right? Is there another square? Like this one, right? And there's 3 blue ones, 4 blue ones, and then you're like, I don't even know, are there extra squares? So there were 9 yellows, there were 4 blues, there was 1 green. So there's like 14 squares. Okay, so my question is, how many V's are there in an X? How many V's are there in an X? Yep, that V, this V, sideways V. V for what? Yeah. Now, you guys, you can make a table. Now, you do have to know that vertical is up and down. Okay, so there was something, I think it was the students who were in here. I think they were in my 6th period class, though, who came up with this. But it was that year. It was pretty cool. So they said, some people forgot which way is which. So they said vertical is Verizon. So that's a tower. That's how you know it goes up and down, because some people forgot which way was which. And then horizontal is the beach. So when you see the beach, and then, there's the sun, this is the beach. It's called a horizon. So you can go a little bit faster on the ones that are like that. Now, what we're here is this is only half of M4. I'm going to finish example 3, and then we'll have maybe 2 more examples of this on Monday. And then we'll do M5 on Monday too. Right? Okay. Okay, so let's do example, because I want to talk to you about the homework. So that's why I don't want to finish this whole example. So we'll do example 3. So example 3, it says graph y is greater than 3. So step 1, you write it as an equal sign. You look at this and you say, oh, that's an H, horizontal. Is it dashed or solid? Dashed. And you can call it dotted. That's fine. So we're ready. We just have to do a test point. We just can't do a test point until we see the picture, because you can't pick a point that's on the line. You said it's dashed. Sometimes I label only because I can't tell what's my lines and what's my not lines. Test point. My favorite one is 1, 1. That's actually the one that the more students get it right when they use 1, 1 than when they use 0, 0. Because I grade partial credit, so I've noticed that. So people do better with 1, 1. Okay, so put 1, 1 here. 1 is greater than 3. And that you could write less. Is that a less? That's not a less, right? Because that looks funny. Okay, so okay, it's not a less. So is 1 less? You said no. So 1 is not less. So 1, 1 is right here, and I put no. So shade this part instead. Sounds good. Okay, so our future example 4 is going to be one that has something like this. So let me write it for you. 2x minus y less than or equal to 6. This one turns out not to be below. And then the other example I want to show you later, but not today, is going to be one that looks like this. What shape is example 4? What shape is example 4? If you changed it to an equal sign in your brain, what shape is that one? Is it a circle? Is it a horizontal line? Is it a vertical line? Is it a regular line? Is it a parabola? What shape is that? Does that look like your yesterday shapes? It's actually a y equals mx plus b line. So that would be a line, but then you're going to have a shading. But what's weird is you're not going to shade below. This actually turns out to be an above shading. Yeah. Okay, and then what about example 5? Do you remember what they look like when they're absolute values? Anyone remember what shape an absolute value was when you graphed it? You guys, this is 2 years ago. You're just trying to find it in your brain. It shouldn't be towards the front. You got a lot of other stuff towards the front. Anyone remember what an absolute value looks like? Yeah. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay, but we'll finish that one on Monday, okay? Okay, so I'm going to share my computer screen. Oh, that's cool. Hey, use your resources, Isaac. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to change which screen I'm presenting. I'm going to present this screen. And you guys, tutorials are required for my class, so make sure you come tomorrow. We'll just talk about uploading homework. And since I'm going to be doing homework grading tomorrow, we'll just make sure that you have everything in. Okay, so just come anyway. Okay, so I'm presenting this screen, right? Okay, so your homework. Okay. Your homework is, you guys, I don't want you to do the word problems, so I'll take those out this year. Okay, so right here, do you see where here says solve by substitution? I don't want you to solve by substitution. Okay, I just want you to solve everything by elimination. You guys, they're all in elimination format. Okay, so, and then let me show you the ones at the bottom. Okay, so I am not going, here, I'll do the screenshot right here. So I'll grab it for you, you guys can see. Okay, so you're gonna do these. We're not going to do the word problems. Oh, but I have to go into the word problems just to grab number 67 at the bottom. Okay, but we're not doing those 24, 25, 26, 27, okay? Okay, and then I want to change the instructions here to say elimination. Okay, but you guys, I'm on my computer, so I really can't write elimination very well. Elimination, okay? Elimination. Oh, that's not bad. I'd rather have my pen though, instead of my mouse. Okay, let's be grateful I'm not teaching on the computer. Okay, and then at the bottom here, do you see where it says determine whether the point satisfies the inequality? You're just going to, it's just going to be true or false, or yes or no. I guess it's not really true or false. It's yes or no. Okay, so you're going to substitute it in and just put yes or no. It's to get you ready for the test point. Okay, this is horrible. Okay, so let me save that. And this is Algebra 2, homework number 3, 2020. Now, if you have time, okay, if you have time, and I'm throwing out all these word problems. Okay, if you have time, you could start the homework that's going to be one of the homeworks next week. We're going to have a double day. And you'll be able to do all of these except for the absolute value ones. Okay, so this is actually homework number 4. So let me snip this one. And then can everyone type here? And then you guys can go to your next class. Just type here before you leave the class, okay? And then homework that's going to be due tonight is homework number 3. Homework number 4 isn't going to be due until, we'll talk about that tomorrow during tutorial. Algebra 2, homework number 4. 2020. Okay, so I will upload those for you. Okay, so just type here, so I know you're here at the end of the period, and I will grab the chat and store it and all that, and then I will see you guys tomorrow during tutorial, okay? Nice, nice. You too, Jason. Bye. Bye, Isaac.